All right, welcome everyone to Inside the Birds TV with Jeff Mosher and Adam Caplan, presented by DraftKings. It is the bye week, but that doesn't mean the conversation about the Philadelphia Eagles stops at all. In fact, Adam and I want to take a pretty deep dive into the offensive line, which is getting a little bit healthier and perhaps changing a little bit. So we thought, who better to talk to than our guest today? And you can see him every week, I believe Tuesdays, on Tales from the Blind Side with Trey Thomas and Jamal Jackson here on the Inside the Birds platforms. And also, he's a friend of Inside the Birds, making his second appearance, first time since the summer, the ToddFather, former Eagles offensive lineman Todd Herremans. How you doing, big guy?
Doing well, guys. What's up? Thanks for having me on.
Sure. And if anybody doesn't see, I mean, obviously watching this, we don't have to promote you because you got it over there, right over the right shoulder. On Twitter, at Todd Herremans.
Still working on my green screen.
Face. No, that's okay. We'll get that. Yeah, you got to have like the what is it, like the Bay Bridge, or no? I mean the Golden Gate Bridge behind you at one point, and clouds going everywhere. We'll get that
beach
going.
Somewhere.
There you go. And of course on Instagram, Todd Herremans79. We got a lot to talk about, Todd. First, I want to remind our listeners that they can download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code ITB for a special offer when you sign up. That's code ITB for a special offer when you sign up at DraftKings Sportsbook. So I know you talked about it a little bit with Trey and Jamal leading up to the Dallas game and then even after. But the idea now of Jason Peters back at left tackle, when we had you last on, was in the summer. And at that point, it was training camp, and we were discussing Jason Peters playing a right guard. And you were a big proponent of the idea, and it's never happened, and now he's back at left tackle. So much has happened since. So just give us your feeling right now on Peters playing left tackle, and for the moment, Mailata kind of hanging in the balance there. How do you view this situation?
Well, I think that the solid bet, right? I know I want to see JP play guard so bad, and I feel like I'm just being teased with it, and they take it away from me all the time because I just still feel like that's the point in his career where he's going to be an absolute monster still, But to take nothing away, let's step back to this week's game. I thought he looked great. A healthy JP at left tackle right now, if he continues to play the way that he did this last week, is our best option for the rest of the season. I think that he went out and proved that. This is not a bad problem to have, is like once Lane gets healthy, after the bye, I'm sure Lane's probably going to be somewhere near a week or two, or maybe even back after the bye, ready to roll, since he thought he was going to go this last game. But I just think having Jordan as a swing tackle now, because we know how often there's friendly fire happening, especially if these guys are semi-banged up, to be able to have that seamless insert moving forward that's just no thought, no shuffling, no nothing. Let's just put Jordan in until these guys, can catch their breath or see how serious the injury is. And if, something happens to either Lane or Jason for the rest of the season, I think we have a solid plan there. As to before, it was kind of like, what are we going to do? I think the Jordan's proved himself. I know that I was saying on with Trey and Jamal that, he's not going to grow as a player unless he's out on the field. And I feel like that's true, but he's definitely had enough experience on the field at this point to digest it and be able to work on it with those weeks of practice that he didn't get in training camp and he hasn't gotten between the games so far, where he doesn't have to worry about a game plan coming up.
So, Todd, though, but why not go with Mailata at left tackle and put Peters at right guard, where, you described to us in the spring and how good of a guard he could be. And I was told for the 2 weeks that he in training camp, he became really dominant at it. He started to figure things out, and you wanted to see more of it. But obviously their plan is not to do that. They just want to stick him at left tackle. But why wouldn't Peters be better at right guard and Mailata at left tackle from what you saw?
Well, I just feel like at this point it's a comfortability thing. He came back out there. He's healthy now. I mean, he's played his whole career at left tackle. Working in switching lines is sides is tough on footwork and balance and holding your weight places. But I just think at this point, let Jordan be the one that has to work on switching sides and developing that unilateral or binary side of the line thing that he can do moving forward, so that if we are in a pinch, he can go either way, as to where it's like, do you really want to teach an old dog new tricks at this point, or just, go out there and let him be? I say best case scenario, if they want to hold on to Jason after the season, bump him down to left guard, just keep him on that same side. Lane's getting older and more experience over there, where he can take a younger player under his wing and kind of, mold them and well, actually we'll have Brandon back next year, so that's not even a problem. You know what I mean? But I think, that could be a move if Jason gets through the season healthy. It could be a surplus of very good offensive linemen for us down the road.
One area where I thought Jason looked really good the other night against Dallas, Todd, was, and this might be still where he's Jason Peters, is say on the backside of his own run when he just can seal.
100%.
I mean that, and I wonder if when the coaches look at it, you don't get that kind of a block when you're playing inside at guard, right? Usually you're either double teaming the inside or you're just jumping out into the linebacker. I think that if even though I don't personally. I'd rather see Mailata get the experience. I think their mindset must be, we've got to play Jason in a position right now that's going to benefit him and us the most, because that's mutually beneficial.
Right. No, and I agree with you. Jason looked great on the backside of all those runs. He was just creating such displacement on that backside, and that just creates too much room for that end to be able to hold, and even that backer has to make a decision of either get lost in the stampede or play backside, so it's that's nice to see Jason be able to still do that. And I think you're right, you don't really get that opportunity at guard, or if you do, it's not as much on display unless your tackle is able to cut off the end on the backside, because usually if you're displacing a nose as a guard on the backside or something like that, then there's an end or a backer squeezing down right there. So it's not as noticeable as when Jason's able to take that 3 technique and literally put him on the front side tackle. That was exciting to see.
Todd, from a mental standpoint, how comforting is it when you know that you're just going to stay at one position? And then the follow-up would be, when you have to switch, how much time do you need from a technique standpoint to get it right?
Well, I think that it's on, how healthy he is, how many extra reps he can go do himself to just get comfortable. Jason knows when he's ready for something. I think maybe for Mailata, how much time he needs to know, I think it's easy for him at this point to do equal amounts of reps on both sides, and then you're just ready either way. And then I mean, I just think that I lost my train of thought there. I don't think that I don't think Jason needs a whole lot of time to get ready himself, but I think,
and by the way, I wasn't just talking about Jason, as you said with Mailata. How, because you've done it, you've played right and left tackle. What are is it just a technique things, or just a mindset? Hey, I'm moving from right to left, left to right. What's that like, moving from side to side?
It's tough. I mean, I think it's probably harder moving from tackle to tackle than it is from guard to guard. I think just because as guard, you're moving more on a plate or a dish on the line of scrimmage, and out of tackle, you're kind of moving more vertically backwards. So it's a complete flip of your hips. The kick step, the vertical set from side to side of tackle is way more drastic of a change, I feel like, than inside. But, it's more about just feeling comfortable, and you're not going to know where you're holding your weight wrong until you get beat, a couple of times. Unfortunately, you can drill it as many times as you want, but until you have somebody out there that can counter your weight against yourself, then you're like, okay, got that. I was leaning too far. I got to hold a little more inside. So I think that's the thing. One of the things that I think is great moving forward with Jason back at left tackle is it has to be somewhat of a relief for Kelsey inside. Kelsey has been just, the constant wearing through it all, the stoic vet in there, able to just kind of keep the glue of everything together. And, that's his job as a center, but it has to be a relief to have someone that's played as long as Jason back out on the edge, just able to see safeties moving, people out on the edge creeping around, and just the knowledge that Jason has that they can communicate out there. It's got to be, like having another antenna as compared to having, someone as green as Mailata out there on the edge.
So correct me if I'm wrong. When you were with the Eagles, you had 3 different offensive line coaches, right? You had Juan, you had Howard Mudd, and then you had Jeff Stoutland at the end. And then you went to Indianapolis and you had one more offensive line coach. Is that correct?
Joe Gilbert. Yeah.
Okay. So of those 4, I want to ask you about technique and how different coaches teach different things. So a lot of times when we have Trey Thomas on, he talks about the double underhand hook technique that the tackles are using. And he's obviously skeptical of that. And I'm wondering, in your experience with all the offensive line coaches and even in college, have you seen that kind of technique taught? Do you understand or do you understand what Jeff is trying to do with the tackles with that kind of technique? Okay.
Totally. I mean, I think that the double underhand, whatever hook, whatever it's called, I think that there's a place for it. I think that all these tools that all these different offensive line coaches teach all have a place in the game, or else they wouldn't be coaching at the highest level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the answer all the time. Like the double underhand hook, I see as being very beneficial in a run game and in stopping the bull rush when you're trying to create your own leverage, or you're already out leverage and you have to regain leverage. So I just feel like when somebody's up underneath you already, you have nothing else to do but hop and try to get your hands back underneath to lift them up and get yourself underneath their pads to stop their momentum. In the run game, it can be helpful picking up a D tackle on the inside or something, getting them up higher than you, and then driving up underneath them. I can see all of those things. I just don't see it as an every play tool. Like Howard Mudd came through and he taught, you're basically jump setting all the time, blocking on a dish, even tackles, go get the guy, first touch wins is the idea. And, it worked, and it worked in certain offenses. It worked in certain schemes. It worked against certain players on defense. But, I've found after like with Juan, he would teach you as a tackle to vertical set. So you got to beat the guy to this spot that he's sprinting to. Seems counterintuitive in your head, but I've seen it work, hundreds of times with Trey. Trey was great at it. Me, not so much. I tried it, but I actually was able to use every technique that I got along the way. And now that I'm done with it, if I had this brain when I was a rookie, I feel like my career could have either been a little bit longer or with higher accolades. But, I just feel like there's a place for everything in this game. And I think that, the offensive line coaches that will be known as Hall of Famers and stuff like that understand that and aren't stubborn. All schemes and things like that are great when they're complemented, and if you're not too stubborn to like let go of your own thing so something else can complement it, then you're going to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wanted to follow up because as a person who has long arms, or either a long arm person like you have, or a massive body like Mailata,
Right.
I feel like, and I've heard this coaching a lot, isn't it the point a lot of times to be able to get your hands on the defender first? Like you want to have your hands before they get their hands on you, because you want to be able to manipulate your body and your leverage. And so that's why I was asking this kind of catch technique. It almost feels also counterintuitive in that you're letting them get their hands inside you first, no?
Yeah. No, it is counterintuitive to that. So I always felt that the best overall way to hold on a second here. The best overall way to for like a consistent pass pro that I felt that I was most successful with was, just a balanced punch where you're extended when you make contact with the guy, and you make contact first, so he can't really reach you. You stop his momentum, and then he's trying to knock your hands down, and then he's making the counters to you as to where you're in control. If they get first touch on you, now you have to realize where they're driving you, which shoulder they're prying open, where their hands are, and you're trying to do all this while you're stopping them from pushing you backwards. So I just feel like, when they're away from your body and pass protection, you have more time to think and to react to what they're doing than when they get inside your body.
Todd, bye week, Andy Reid, you as a player, what did you do to, obviously depends on what time of year, how much you really needed it, but what did the bye week do for you as a player? And B, why was Andy so successful after the bye? It's just remarkable about how good the team would be once the bye was over.
I think that one of the reasons that Andy was so successful after the bye was just because he knew it was a time that people needed to recharge, but it also gave him that extra time as a coach to be game planning and scheming. So, I think that scheme is one of his strengths, and also like understanding his locker room is one of his strengths. And I think that those two things together during a bye week, if you understand your locker room and what they need and what they want, and then if you're also taking the extra time to scheme, that equals wins after a bye. I think that he gave us time off when we were supposed to have time off, like when we really needed it. Even if we felt like we needed more time off, he gave us a few days and then had us come back. Deep down inside, we all knew we needed to get better. There was a reason we were coming back. We didn't earn it. And I think that the players that he brings into his locker room, they share that kind of respect. And there was never any dissent during the bye week when it came to our schedule or anything like that.
Todd, I remember one year, I can't remember if it was 2008 or 9, but there were some injuries on the offensive line. I know Max Jean Gillies had to get in there. There were times where he would play okay early on, and then as the season went on and he had to be a full-time starter, you would start to see the flaws in his game. He was a very, very big guy. You remember, I don't know if you would say he's the best athlete, but he was enormous. And I guess I'm wondering about Nate Herbig, because he's been a guy who's held his own. He's looked good, not a very athletic guy, but big. He can stalemate you at least at scrimmage at times. And I wonder, with that stretch that they have in December, where it's going to be Green Bay, then Seattle, then New Orleans, and Arizona, and somebody else who I'm not thinking of. It's a real tough 5-game stretch. If you think Nate Herbig, from what you've seen so far, is going to be the guy who gets exploited, or is he going to be able to keep holding his own there?
Well, I think that hopefully Nate's one of those guys that rises to the level of the people around him. I mean, as we get our line back and back together and healthy and stuff, he's going to be probably looked at as one of the weaker links out there that people can pick on. And we'll see, but I like his game. I think he's a crucial type of player that you need on the team this season to be able to get us through these stretch of ugliness and unquestionable guys playing, and whether or not with these rashes of injuries that we're having and stuff. I think that Herbig has been a huge bonus to this team. Just being able to be, it might not be if we have our 7 best guys healthy, he's probably not on the field, but we don't have our 7 best guys healthy, and we need him to get us through this patch. And I think it's almost like, let him ride it out the rest of the season too. He's got his opportunity to ride to the challenge, because he's almost like gotten us to this point,
Mm-hmm.
Todd, playing for Andy Reid and knowing how much you guys are going to throw the football, and we see what the league is now all about the pass. Was there a certain mindset for an offensive lineman, like, okay, I see this. We're not going to be a run-oriented team. Did you need to be in a certain physical shape? Did he ask you over the years to get heavier, lighter? What was that like to play in Andy Reid's offense as a lineman?
Well, we were always told we were going to be a running offense.
Really? Really?
No, I mean, we were, I don't even know how it's explained to us, but
he did like big guys, though. Andy liked a bigger guy, which was always weird. He liked road graders.
Yeah, he did. He liked road graders, especially at guards, Right. And I think that Juan was really the ones that liked like massive guys, because Juan's thing was, mass kicks ass, that's like what he hung his hat on. He just, when I moved to guard, he told me I needed to get big. Hey, Todd, you need to get big, man. So yeah, I just started eating everything I could, and I ballooned up and I got fat. And then I played a season fat at guard, and then realized I can't even move like this. So I ended up, kind of finding my own way to play at. I think that when they ask you to be at a certain weight, it's more of them asking you, don't be a fat slob that can't help us. You know what I mean? They're not like picking out your ideal weight for this offense or this scheme. I think that with Coach Reid, it was more like, hey, I'm going to give you some leeway with your weight. Make sure you can perform and don't embarrass me, And I don't remember during my entire career really anybody getting crushed with fines for their weight. It was always something that, well, the Coach Reed kept in house, and then maybe I just wasn't paying attention with the other ones because I was just, focused on other things.
Well, I remember, as soon as Juan was gone and then Howard Mudd came in, it was like a total, complete opposite philosophical shift. It wasn't about road
Right.
graders. It was like tight ends playing right and left guard. I still remember the
Right.
first day they draft Jason Kelsey in the 6th round, and we're at Lehigh one day, and Jason's taking first team snaps at center, and he's a 6th round pick. And we're all like, we've never seen this before. A guy getting first team reps at center. And I tweeted something like, I guess, it's a maintenance day for some guys and Jason Kelsey's getting the snaps. And after about 2 hours later, Jamal texts me, he goes, no, fella. He goes, that's the new starter. We're out. And I was like, whoa.
Wow.
But it's funny how different coaches, even though the head coach's philosophy stays the same, it seems like the offensive line coach, whether it's Mudd, whether it's Stoutland or Juan, have a whole lot of say in the makeup of the offensive line.
Yeah, well, I think that it's important to give offensive line coaches the guys that they see themselves succeeding with. Otherwise it's just going to be a constant fight, a constant battle between the players that you gave him to work with and the coach that doesn't want to work with these guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing about when Kelsey came in is it did seem it was a shock. It was like, oh man, it just seems like they got their mind made up. They want, but then Kelsey came out and proved he can play. And then he had his opportunity after Mudd was gone with Stoutland to show that it wasn't just Mudd's scheme and Mudd's style that he could be successful at. And then, he's on his 3rd offense now with or I guess 2nd with Doug, but he's back to a Andy Reid style scheme. And he showed, yeah, there are negatives to his size at times, but he's able to play at a very elite level. And so, I think of this sometimes as like, if I went to another offensive line coach other than Juan, I don't know if I would have developed into being a player that could have played for other offensive line coaches. But, and maybe that's the same route for Kelsey. I wouldn't say that because I think he's probably a little more determined to prove people wrong, but it seemed to work out for him.
Todd, at what point in your career did you feel like you became your best, like the best you could be? Was there 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year? And also, I remember knowing you a little bit as a rookie. I just remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, did they not tell you to lose a lot of weight or put a lot of weight on year one? There was something, and I know it was a long time ago, but
Juan told me to put a lot of weight on during the off season after my rookie year because that's when they moved me to guard.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
But they also drafted Max that year. And so in my head, I was like, Jesus, I got to put on weight. And they drafted this guy. Like, how much weight do I got to put on?
He was a good 340, right? I mean, at least.
Max, on a good day.
Yeah, he might have been 350, 360. Yeah.
But I don't really remember where I was going with that.
Just what it's like to have to put on the weight.
As a player, though, when did you know you're like, you know what, I could play in this?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like 3rd or 4th year.
When did I find out that I could play?
Yeah, when you knew
I was unsure at first. But my
Really?
first year training camp, I was a little unsure. I got drafted in the 4th round. People are still telling you like it doesn't mean anything if you got drafted in the 4th round, they'll still cut you. You know what I mean? And so like you got that all in the back of your mind. You have no idea what to expect. I'm from a small school, small town before that. So I'm just like wide-eyed, trying to last. I'm going 1st team, 2nd team, and 3rd team, all against the maniac Trent Cole, who also is trying to like prove himself. So like I'm catching plenty of L's like early in my first training camp, because Trent's good. And I got a couple dubs too, but so it was like, yeah, I definitely questioned myself very early in the early stages. And then, you go out there and you start playing against guys like you hear guys in the room start like giving you compliments. Juan holds you over after a couple meetings, is like, hey man, gives you the pep talk, and after all those things start swirling together, then you start to build like, all right, I can do this. If I'm seeing the best guys on this squad and I'm not dominating them, but I'm at least stalemating them, from time to time, then I can get better and I can last, and that's just kind of how it rolled. To be candid, there was a lot of question early on, and sometimes you got to hide that with some bravado, or else they'll just eat you alive.
Well, if anybody could pull that off, ToddFather, it would be you. So you did a good job. It's funny, like you came in with Trent, you guys battled, you made the teams together, you played a long time, you both survived the coaching change, and then you both went to Indianapolis at the end, right? Wow.
Yeah, now we're both just having kids and being dads, and
yeah, how about that? So we talked about earlier that stretch that they've got starting late November into December, 5 pretty tough games for them. How do you see this thing kind of unfolding? Well, like what's got to change, you think, first and foremost, for the Eagles to really be competitive again, not just beating Dallas?
Well, I think the bye week's a perfect time to just kind of reboot. I think things need to get simplified. I think that they really, the way that they were running the ball, I think they need to keep, leaning on running the ball so much and just not asking so much of Carson. Let him run an offense and let him be, an MVP style player if he can be that, by just running this offense and completing the passes when he's called upon. And, we get plenty of running yardage. And, I think we really need a balanced attack to move forward. I like what we see with the young receivers as well, and they're going to continue to blossom and see the relationships develop with Carson and them, which I think is great. And hopefully we can get Zach healthy and back out there, and Dallas 100% and, back out there for a full game, everything like that.
Well, got to follow it up. Will they win this NFC least?
Hey, like I say every week, man, if you're not first, you're last. So it's looking good right now. Maybe we went through our rash of craziness early on, and things are going to start to reach homeostasis here, and we can start to get some W's and make it look like we're someone that belongs in the playoffs rather than someone that was chosen out of the 4 worst teams in the league to make the playoffs. So,
all right.
I like our chances with that tie. That tie
it does help.
and that column. I like our chances, especially the way everything's panning out. But I think we're going to see playoff football in Philly this year.
There you go.
It's going to be exciting.
The ToddFather has come out of the hole and predicted a playoff year in Philly. We will see if that happens. Of course, you can catch him, as it says right there over the right shoulder, on Twitter at Todd Herremans, Instagram Todd Herremans 79. And will there be a Tales from the Blind Side on Tuesday?
I think.
Or is it a bye week for you guys too?
No, I think we took the bye.
Okay,
gotcha.
Unless we have an emergency catch up of something.
Well,
Gotcha.
All right,
Okay.
there might be some of that, but everybody
there might
can
be something to catch up on Sunday.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, everybody can catch that Tales from the Blind Side. It's hysterical. It's very insightful. It's one of the best shows we've got here on the Inside the Birds platform. So we always thank you, Trey and Jamal Jackson, for being part of the ITB family. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up soon, and man, we appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have you coming back on in a few weeks, if not, sooner than that. We'll see.
Sounds good, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
You got it. That is the ToddFather, and we thank you all for watching the latest edition of Inside the Birds TV. We'll catch you all in the next one.